So hello everyone, my name is Shushan. I'm the chair of Associated Students. Chair of Finance for Associated Students.
And I'm Isaac, Shushan's assistant.
So here's our agenda for today. We're going to go over the overview of how AS receives funding, the types of funding that we provide to student organizations, the process on how to receive these funds, and the next steps on how to be reimbursed for the funding that you receive. So every student pays a $92 fee every semester for Associated students and a $54 fee for the students who take a summer class. So the funding that Associated students receive from student fees is about $8 million. The $8 million is used to assist clubs and organizations on campus to put together events and activities for students. And it also provides funding for Associated students to host events like Big Show, Big Politics, Big Comedy, and such. So the funding that AS provides for our annual budget is recommended by the Finance Committee, and then it's approved by the AS President and the AS Senate. So here's the three types of funding that we provide: annual budget funding, supplemental funding, and club and org travel funding for student clubs and organizations. So the first kind of funding we have is the annual budget. The annual budget establishes the general AS budget for our June to June fiscal year. I'm not going to go over these steps because I'm going to go into them in detail, so I won't read off of this slide. So the first step, we're going to be posting this presentation on our AS website. It's being recorded right now, so the presentation and this video will be posted on our website. So when you're going to apply for our annual budget, review this video and this presentation. Familiarize yourself with the AS Code on Finance so that you could see what we do fund and we do not fund when you're requesting funding. So everybody write these dates down. Our submission for the annual budget is going to open on our website on October 17th, and the deadline to apply will be November 13th. And the process will close at 11 p.m. on November 13th. We will not be receiving or we will not be accepting late applications, so please make sure you apply on time. There's three parts to the application. You'll be providing information on who's requesting the funding, email, phone number, the advisor information, and then also description of the club and organization you're requesting funding for. For an example, when the club and organization was established on our campus, the different kinds of activities and services it provides for students, and then you'll provide a financial breakdown of everything you're requesting funding for. So once you submit your requests, there will be you'll have to attend an annual budget hearing, and the hearings take place during winter break. Last year it was the week before the spring semester started, so this year is probably going to be the same way, but that is subject to change. You will be contacted with the exact date and time of the date and time of when you'll be coming in for annual budget hearings, and if that doesn't work with your schedule, you could always reschedule with us during that week. So during the Finance Committee hearing, you'll be presenting to the Finance Committee what you submitted. And then once you come to the Finance Committee hearing, the Finance Committee will deliberate and make recommendations to our AS President and our Senate of what we think the annual budget for the next fiscal year should be. So the AS President will approve that, and then it'll be approved by the AS Senate, and then it'll go to the University President for a final approval. So, and then here's a few things about the annual budget. Senators have the power to increase or decrease whatever the Finance Committee recommends or the AS President approves. So it's your time during open forum to go and advocate what you requested funding for. Another type of funding, or does anyone have questions about annual budget before we move on to club and org travel? Yes.
What was the deadline again?
November 13th, 11 p.m.
The applications, where do we get them?
It's on our website, csunas.org.
What time, so that's going to be for starting next fall, we would get that?
The funding that you'll be applying for this year, the club will be able to use it July 1st, 2017 until June 30th, 2018. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. So another type of funding that we provide for clubs and organizations is travel funding. So for travel funding, a club and org can send 2 students from their organization to represent them at a leadership conference. And the 2 students can receive a maximum allocation of $600 and no more than 50% of the total cost of their expense that they're requesting. So the funding that we provide covers costs like conference fees, airfare, mileage, room, $85 a night for the room. Okay. So the first step to request club and org travel funding is to submit your request online. Again, you'll be providing personal information about who's requesting it, email, phone number, advisor information, because every advisor has to approve the request. Before I could approve the travel funding request, your advisor has to approve. Information about the trip, what the conference is going to be about, and then you're going to submit a breakdown of all the expenses. So you'll list your conference fees, how much it's going to cost for your room, airfare, anything like that. And then the application to apply, again, it's on our website. You don't have to write down this long URL, csunas.org, and then it's under the funding icon. And then the second step, once you are approved for funding, you'll submit a student travel waiver, and then you'll also submit an authorized signature form. If you do not submit these 2 forms, it can jeopardize your funding.
Okay, so types of supplemental funding. First of all, supplemental funding comes from whatever is not used from the budget for set aside for clubs and organizations last year. We get half of that and then we put it in the supplemental funding budget. So if you miss the deadline for the annual budget process, then that's where we would allocate the money from. And this is usually for new clubs or organizations or for new events that you have. And then things that we normally fund is speakers or performances for your programs. This does not include speakers from CSUN because we would like to see if you guys could get the speakers here to not charge for your club because they are from here. So in a way for them to help out for you guys. And then advertising, promotions, use of facilities for this. It's if you want to rent out a room for any special event that your club has, we can provide funding for that. And then equipment, leadership development programs, that's if you want to go to a special conference for your club, we would supply funding for that. Tournaments, these, it's usually for fundraising. It's not if you want to make a profit after. So if you end up with revenue after for your clubs, then we cannot fund that. But if it's for raising more funds to do more stuff for your clubs, then we can do that. Liability, insurance, and interpretive services, so that's like sign language. Okay, and submission of funding request application. First, you have to show us what information, why you need the funding. Second, you need your advisor's approval for the funding, and then a budget for the whole year of your club. And this, you can go online or you can write this down, but it's easier to go online. Okay, and then the next step that you would take is that you would go to our finance committee meetings. These take place at 1 p.m. Mondays. You present your case to us, you tell us about your club, you tell us why you need funding and the amount for that you need funding. Later, the finance committee will get a recommendation, we'll bring it to Senate, and that's the next step. And then you would provide the information to Senate on Monday, 9 a.m. They could either put more money for your club or they could provide less money. So it's always wise to go to them to tell them why you need the funding and what you're going to be using it for. Okay, and how this...
So before I go on to the next steps on how to access your funds, there's a few limitations on supplemental funding. We can only provide funding for half of the total cost of an event and no more than $3,000 for a one-day event. Okay, so the next step on how to access your funding once you receive it, there's the authorized signature form that has to be filled out. And then once you want to be reimbursed for your costs, you would fill out the expenditure request form and attach your original receipts to it. And then we also have the travel and change of purpose request form. This is to transfer funds that you've received for one event that you'll no longer be hosting, or you didn't use all the funds that we provided. You can transfer it to another event that you will be hosting.
And then here you can get all the forms that you want, either through our website or through this URL. We have the budget amendment, which is if you want to change anything in your budget for your club. Travel funding request form, it's travel. Authorized signature, you usually use that every time that you actually get the money, then you would have to get that authorization. Expenditure request form, that's if you want to get reimbursed for anything that your club has done. And then transfer request, that's if you want to get funds from one side of your budget that we have given to you and put it towards another thing in your club. And then you can get all that in this URL or just go to our website, which is easier.